Hello to all my BPTV fans, YouTube fans, new fans. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine, with my Talking Machine show. I have a great guest for you today. Thanks for all the feedback. Thanks for watching my shows. I appreciate it. We do one every second week and fourth week of the month, and this is the fourth week of February. I'm going to let my guest introduce himself right now.
Hello. Thanks, Al, for having me on. And my name is Ernest Keegan. You can just call me Ernie. I've been called a lot of different things, but that's fine. And Al's graciously invited me here to talk about my newest endeavor in life. And that happens to be, I guess, as my wife says, a raconteur.
Well, let me just interrupt you, Ernie. Thank you for your kind words. Not only do we have one book, two books with a good friend of mine, Jose Carabella of Ray Schaefer Boxing Club. He's on the cover. And a third book, and I'll give you a little secret, he let me read his fourth book, which is not out yet, but it's coming. So we'll check that out. But first, Ernie, where did you grow up?
All right, I grew up, well, some people say I never grew up, but I actually grew up in Lawrenceville in the city of Pittsburgh,
Okay.
9th Ward. And if anybody's familiar with the 40th Street Bridge,
Yes.
right up the street, the next block over.
I know that area, yes.
Yeah, so.
And then where'd you go to school?
All right, I went to St. Augustine's grade school on 37th Street. It's all gone now.
Sure.
And they had a high school there, girls' high school. That's been closed for a long time.
Thanks for the history. We
Yeah.
appreciate when you lived a few years like you.
A lot of years. a lot.
Okay. Well, then where'd you go to high school?
Well, high school, I went to 3 years of Central Catholic over in Oakland.
How come only 3?
Well, they had a problem with me. And then years later, I found out what their problem was when I was in the military.
Can you tell it on TV?
Yeah, sure, I can tell. I tell everything.
It's a family-friendly show, my
right.
friend.
And anything I say, I always tell the truth, even if I make it up. So
Okay.
you know how that goes.
Fair enough.
Right. Well, all right. Yeah, I went 3 years to Central Catholic, excellent education.
Sure.
And then my last year, I went to Peabody High School.
Yeah.
And I graduated from Peabody. And then I found out the problems that Central had, and it happened to be that the military explained it to me. I have a problem with authority.
Okay.
Because they give you a review every so many months in the military.
Right.
They have 10 items they give you, and I would get like one out of 10 on everything, and then they would always write in the notes, has problem with authority.
Okay.
So one day I said to the first sergeant, his name was Hudson, all first sergeants in the military are from below the Mason-Dixon line.
Okay.
They're all named Hudson,
Okay.
at least in my experience. So he was a pretty nice guy. I said, what's that mean, Sarge? He says, that means you are and I won't say it here. And I said, is that bad? And he says, no, that works for you. So, you know.
Okay, so how long were you in the military?
I would have been in 4 years, but they were clearing people out in 1969. I
Okay.
went in January of '65, and they were clearing people out, and I got out about 6 months early, so I was in 3.5 years
Were you
instead
in
of 4.
Vietnam at all?
I was in Southeast Asia. Now, what we did, I was
Where in Southeast Asia?
well, I flew out. We went to these islands, and we set up in different areas. We set up a
What
base
branch
camp.
were you in? I didn't.
The Air Force.
Okay, thank you.
And I got a terrific education in the military. I always tell the fighters, when I was training fighters, I would tell them, go to the military, get an education, or, get some type of an education,
Okay.
a trade school or something like
Sure,
that.
something you can use.
Something you can make money at. That's
Whoa.
what you're here for, make money.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I went into the Air Force right out of high school, and in those days, you had to take the SATs
Yes.
to get into high school.
Well, in these days too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, they have like what's that, community college and stuff. They didn't
Right.
have that then,
Understand.
and it cost money to take the SATs, and we
Really?
didn't have any money.
Wow.
All right, and
Well, how'd you take it?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't take the SATs. I didn't go to my high school graduation.
All right, let's catch up. You didn't go to high school graduation,
Right.
and you're going to go to college?
No, I knew I would never go. Now,
Okay, so what did you do?
well, I went to the military. I joined the Air Force.
Okay, now you're out of the military.
Now I'm out of the
Yeah.
military, and my mother said, "Oh, I love you. Go get a job." So
Okay.
I went to the.
What a good mother.
Yes, and I went. Now my father died 2 weeks before I was born. So,
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, well, that's life. But anyway, I went to the phone company, not really thinking
Which
I'd get
one
a
was
job. At that time, it was Bell Telephone
Thank
of Pennsylvania.
I wanted you to get that out.
AT&T was still rolling,
Right.
and they owned us, and that was before all the breakups and all that stuff.
Yes.
So that was 1969. I took a job.
So you're out of the Air Force.
Yep,
You got hired at Bell Telephone.
right.
Where were you working out of? What was your
I
office?
started at an entry-level job. I worked at the warehouse at
Okay.
6585 Penn Avenue. It's part of Chatham College or something now.
Oh, okay.
That was Western Electric and Bell Telephone in the bottom, the warehousing.
Right.
And from there, I went into teletype maintenance and installation for the phone company. Now the big data stuff hadn't even come on the scene
Wow,
yet.
you're predating that. Folks, we got a man of history that lived through this. And I got to ask, because I know unions were big back then. I got in a union for the newspaper in 1974. Did you join their union to get hired? Was that part of it?
When you were hired by the phone company, they were CWA. You were in the union. You had to join
And let me
the union.
translate CWA as Communication Workers of America. I actually have a history of it because the newspapers, as you know, are failing right now and going out of business because of internet and smartphones. Well, 10 years ago, I took a buyout, and we were in the CWA for over 20 years, and the printing and media, sector of it, because they have many branches now because they took in failing unions and everything
Right.
else, and were good for us. So it's nice to hear an original guy going back to 1969.
Right. Yeah. And they, you join. I don't want to give. Well, I'll give the plug for the union if I may.
Go ahead.
All right. If you want to make money and you want to have stability and you want to go home and sleep at night and not worry about your boss saying, my nephew needs a job, have a nice life after 15 years, join the union. There's plenty of unions around still. And
Well, we're only
they
at
need people.
6.2%.
That's true.
So
but
I
they
understand
need,
that.
They
but-
need workers.
Yeah.
And as far as the utility workers,
Right.
say you want to go to the phone company, people say, well, I don't know. Everything's electronics. I don't know that. Not everybody in the Air Force flies an airplane.
Good
right?
point. Yes.
So there's a lot of different jobs, and they will train you. If you have the capacity to learn something, they'll train you.
No, that's great. But I want to go back a little bit in your life because you have an interesting life. And when did you start boxing?
Okay, well, I started boxing. Now, I grew up in Lawrenceville. Now, Lawrenceville had a lot of history of fighters, local
Yeah.
fighters. Fritzie Zivic's probably the most famous.
You know, my dad introduced me to him years ago in the early 70s.
Yeah, Fritzie was. There was 5 Zivic brothers.
I
They
read
all
that.
fought.
Yeah.
They all fought. Fritzie became champion.
He was the best.
He might not have been the best, but he was the
lasted.
toughest. He lasted. Okay, so yeah, so the boxing you grew up at that time, boxing was big, and then in the '60s at the Vietnam War, boxing faded out. Of course, they had Wednesday night fights, Friday night fights
Right.
on TV, but people were getting away from. They didn't want violence. They didn't want their kids to be violent. They didn't
Right.
like it. So boxing kind of faded out, and other things came on.
So when did you get into it?
Well, I got into it when I was probably a sophomore in high school.
How come?
Well, see, me and my pal, Kenny, we decided that we'd like to go out and imbibe in some Tiger Rose. That's why.
We're against drinking. So.
All right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, as teenagers, we went out, we got soused.
Okay.
And I got in an argument with a guy, And so we got in a fight, and
Thanks for not sharing all the details.
yeah,
You've told me a story or two.
It was over. It was over quick. Anyway, next morning I'm standing there and I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
You know, you don't eat baked beans and stuff and then go drink Tiger Rose. Right?
Okay.
So next morning I'm there and here comes Donnie. He comes over. He wants to fight again. I said, Don, I'm sick. I don't want to fight.
Yeah.
In them days, when you had a fight, you had a fight. And it was over and you went back and played ball or whatever you were doing. You know, you didn't hold. It
was a little different. Yeah.
Different. Yeah. So I said, okay, let's go. I said, you're looking for more trouble. One punch to the stomach and our fight was over. I had to push him away, get away from me, and then, my stomach gave up. Yeah, I heaved. So,
I gotcha.
So I thought, this ain't good.
Thanks for those details.
Yeah,
so what got you interested in the boxing?
Well, I went down to boys' club. I thought, well, if I'm going to let this schmuck beat me up, because that was an ego thing for me, see?
How much did you weigh then?
156.
Okay.
156.
I wanted to know, okay.
So I go down there, and Terry McManus at the boys' club, the local boys' club in Lawrenceville, he was the trainer, and he said, okay, I'll train you, So I started taking up that. Now, he had been in the Olympics way back in the 1920s.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow,
Terry
what
McManus.
a guy. Yeah.
And
look him up, folks.
And so he was. Anyway, I trained down there for a while, and I got a job in high school. I had to get a job, so I went over and I got a job on Walnut Street in Shadyside. Now,
wow,
at that
you're
time,
traveling around a little.
Well, in Shadyside, that was the time of the hippies, the love child, and all that kind of stuff. So I got a job over there, and I worked Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after school. Now, the gym was only open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but they gave me a key, and they said, you come down Tuesday and Thursdays when you're off, and you can work out. So I did. And then I was still at Central Catholic.
Right, for 3 years.
Yeah, I transferred my senior year over to Peabody High School.
Right.
And I was in school and a kid came up and he said, hey, you want to spar with my brother? And I said, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He says, oh, he's down.
Because now you've been doing this a couple years.
He says, you want to go? He's at the East Liberty Gym. Now, I heard about the East Liberty Gym from being at the Kroger's. That's where Kroger's on Walnut Street. That's where the drugstore is.
I remember Kroger's. Yeah.
Let's go Kroger ring.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's coming back to you.
Yeah. I don't remember this morning, but I remember that song.
Oh, that's good.
But I went ahead and I said, yeah, I'll show up. Well, I didn't. It was a gym with a very, very tough reputation.
Sure.
Okay.
I think it still has that reputation.
Well, yeah. Well, it's gone.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
They're out of business.
Yeah. But so what happened was I went there and I'm standing, it's freezing out, and the only people came. It was a Sunday afternoon. They opened at 1 o'clock. So I go upstairs. There's guys come. I go upstairs and I ask the guy, "Can I work with these people? Work. I'm waiting for it." "Oh yeah, sure. Come on." So I'm putzing around, hitting a bag, blah blah, and all this. Finally, I said to the guy, and the guy said, "Well, who are you waiting for?" I said, "Well, I'm waiting for this fellow." He said, "He came and left." I said, "What do you mean he left?" He said, "He came here and he got his stuff out of the locker and left. He was going somewhere that day." I said, "Well, gee," he said, "You want to work out with someone?" I said, "Yeah."
Yeah, that's why.
So then comes this little skinny guy, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm 156, he's 147.
Yeah.
All right, we went 4 rounds. I was down 5 times. He knocked me down 5 times.
Wow.
Little skinny. They didn't tell me he won the Golden Gloves and everything, And I had never had
a nice
fight.
punch.
Yeah. Well, so I'm leaving, and years later, my trainer, his name was G.B. Thomas. Now,
You're a good name dropper here.
He took Billy Kahn to the gym when Billy Kahn was
young. What a
legend.
Pittsburgh legend.
Yeah, and Johnny Ray was their trainer. Now,
and Billy Kahn was the Pittsburgh kid.
He won light heavyweight. He almost, if it wasn't for his ego, he would have been heavyweight champ.
He said it was because he was Irish.
It could be, yeah, and he had a hard head.
That's what he said, yes. But he had Joe Louis down.
He had him beat.
Yeah.
He had him beat, but he
just had to finish the fight.
Had to finish it.
That's another story, but we just brought that in because Ernie will tell stories from all over the place. I'm trying to focus on his boxing career.
We only have 4 hours today.
No. We got about 15 minutes.
All right, well, we'll pass along. Anyway, I go down, I come back. Monday I work, Tuesday I came in and the guy says, "Well, where were you yesterday?" I said, "I was working and everything." He says, "Well," he said, "Geez, you come back, you got knocked down 5 times in 4 rounds. What do you think?" I said, "I'll tell you the same thing Patterson says." Who
Yeah.
was Floyd Patterson?
remember.
Heavyweight. He said, "What's he say?" I said, "It's easy to get knocked down. Getting up's the part you got to worry about." He said, GB and other fellow, John Osteen, the trainer, he was standing there, and GB said, "He's mine." And GB took me under his wing.
So you worked with the legendary guy that got Billy Conn up to where he was.
Yeah. Well, another thing was, in that gym there was Alonzo Johnson. He was a top heavyweight contender. Sam McGill, real good friend of mine. He was ranked about number 6 or 8 in the 70s.
Wow.
Then Johnny Morris, middleweight contender.
Yeah.
He was there. There were so many top.
All right, forget these stars. What did you do in boxing?
Well, I had a few fights here.
Okay.
And then
did you win any fights?
I won a few.
Did you keep getting knocked down, or were you knocking some people down?
You know what? I did get knocked down. I never got hurt.
Yeah.
See, I went because of my. I was a boxer. I wasn't a puncher. I was a boxer.
Okay.
But the thing was that I didn't train hard. I didn't. You have to have a real intensity
and you didn't
when you're
have
a
that.
fighter. No,
Okay.
I didn't have.
At least you're honest.
Well, you have to be honest.
Now, how long did you box?
I boxed for about a year before I went to the military.
Okay.
Now, there weren't a lot of fights in Pittsburgh at that time. Like I said, boxing
It
was
dried
shutting
up.
down.
Yeah.
So I went to the military. Now, you got to say, is there something wrong with you? Because I was offered when I come out of school, I was in school for a year in teletype maintenance. I come out and the guy's, I'm from Pittsburgh area. I'm going to give you a choice. You can go to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 embassy office with 2 old teletype machines. You wear a suit. You don't wear a uniform. You live in off base in an apartment. And at that time, Copenhagen was the top place in the world. Everybody wanted to go there, especially an embassy, right?
Yeah.
But you can go to Southeast Asia and fly out of the Philippines,
Wow.
set up bases.
So you went there.
There were 7 inter-service boxing champions on Clark Air Base. I knew about them because of Stars and Stripes paper. I knew what they looked like.
Yeah.
Coming off the plane when I landed in the Philippines
Yeah.
in Clark, I seen them. I said, "Hey, where you guys going? You going to a tournament?" Blah blah. They were real nice. He's going to Chicago. He's going to New York. It's what? I said, "What's the team doing? What team?" They shut the team down.
You're kidding.
Gave away all the equipment to the Philippine Air Force for the Asian Games.
Wow.
Now you got to remember, we're napalming kids in Vietnam.
Yeah.
But violence, we don't like violence.
Understand.
So I'm standing there in this gigantic gym. They had 5 basketball courts and all this, and I had a mat, 6x8 mat, and 2 years, 2.5 or 1.5 year tour. So I was there for a couple months, or 6 to 8 months, something. Then I went up to Korea.
Yeah.
And I was up in Korea flying out of Osan. And that's what we did, set up a base and then come back. You'd be there 3-4 days. You didn't even know where you were. You're 18 years old.
And when you were setting it up, what did you learn to set up a base? Just in
Well,
a
they
short
would,
version.
They would, they would tell you, here, I'm setting up the teletype equipment at
Okay, so you're learning teletype.
Yeah. And then we had what they called crypto, which is digital and computer stuff.
Right, so that was coming out. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I did. And then we flew out. They said, "Where were you? Who knew? You're 18 years old."
Now, tell me when you got out of doing that. When were you done with the military?
When I was done with the military in '69,
Yeah.
I came out and I went back to East Liberty. The gym was gone. It was burned down. Somebody burned it.
Wow.
There was a club on the next floor, and
Right.
they had burned
They
it.
got it.
Burned it out. So we were down at the old Larmer Avenue Kingsley House.
Okay.
So they had a mat there and everything. So I says to GB and John, I said, "Jabe, I want to fight." "No, you can't fight. You're in the shape." "Yeah, I want to fight." "Okay, go on." He didn't want me to. I went in there and I fought a kid, and he won a split decision.
Okay.
And I said, "I'm done."
That was it.
Yeah, I knew I didn't have the feeling for it
So
anymore.
boxing was done as a fighter.
Yeah, as a fighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you go and get your job at Bell Atlantic.
Bell Telephone.
Bell Telephone.
Yeah, and it
That's right. Yeah, let me clarify. Bell
and
Telephone.
it became Bell Atlantic.
Yeah.
And it became Verizon.
Right. Understand. I was trying to go through
Okay.
that. Okay, so what job did you end up with, and how long did you work there?
Okay, I was teletype and maintenance, and then we went into the data field, and then you went for. Now, when I started, you know, a data modem, 100 words a minute was normal typing.
Sure.
100 words a minute.
Right.
Now it's like, you know, bazillion words,
Sure.
computer to computer. So I went into that, and then we went into the digital field, the T1s,
Sure.
T3s, things like that.
No,
you
that's
have
pretty
now.
interesting to go through all those changes,
Yeah.
I'm sure, and look at all the people they hired and worked
Oh,
there.
I tell you, a lot of people
No
went
doubt.
through. I
So
was
when
there
did you get
30
out? Because I want to get to your books.
All right,
when,
I get
when
out.
did you get out?
I tell you, it took an early out. They were getting rid of people.
What year was that?
Oh boy, I don't know. That's about 17, 18 years ago.
Okay.
So that's been a while.
So around 2000,
Yeah. I tell you, it was
2002?
right at when was 9/11? Was that
2001.
that was 2001? So it was 2001, I think, that I
Okay, so
Then
you
I
got out
retired.
then with a buyout.
with buyout and.
And what
they
did you
treated-
do then? Like, we're trying to get here to why you even were writing books.
Oh, all
if
right.
it leads
I went
to
down
that.
as a fatso. Now I became a fatso, so I went down to the gym. I called Ray
So
Schaefer.
you're back at the gym.
Ray Schaefer, I called him up. I says, Ray, I says, can I train down at the gym? He had a gym in Sharpsburg. He says,
Yeah.
Gary Conley's running the gym. He was a fighter for Ray. And
Heard he was a good fighter.
he was an excellent fighter, puncher, heavy
Yeah,
puncher.
heavy puncher.
So anyway, so I go down to Gary. He says, yeah, okay. So I go down there. I went from 250 to 180, 190, okay, working out.
Your intensity increased.
Yeah, I was, but I had that, vibe again. So I'm working out. So I go down there, and it's doing nice. Then my one nephew, he wanted to learn how to fight. So I started training him. I cut off training.
So you became a trainer.
I became a trainer. Then he quit training. His parents didn't want him to fight, so he quit. So then I was working out, and I hear a tap. I get a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and the guy says, "Excuse me, sir, would you consider training me?" And I looked up in the sky, up into the clouds, and I said, "Shook, I can't even see you." Mike Shook came to me.
You know he's 6'8".
Yes, I do. And I said, I can't even see. Come down here where we breathe air, oxygen. Come
Yeah.
on here. So I trained him. I was his trainer.
Nice.
I took him on. And then another kid come in, Jake
And this
Kennedy.
this is Ray Schaefer Boxing Club.
Yes.
All
And
right.
and then I took care of Jake Kennedy.
These sound like characters in your book. That's
Jake
what I'm getting into.
Jake Conley is not Jake Kennedy. There's a lot of similarities in my
well,
books.
since I've read all 4 of your books,
Yeah.
so
You know them.
yes, I know a little bit about them. And now you're training these guys.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start writing books?
All right, we were.
Because you got some interesting stories, folks. I got to cut them short a little bit
All right,
because I want to get them in the books.
Okay,
What's
check
the
the
first
second.
book?
Check the second book. The guy on the cover, Jose. Okay, he's an
hold-
amateur. He turns pro. He's training with a guy.
And Jose's a friend of mine.
Yeah,
He's in the movies and does
Right. Yes,
commercials.
he's an
he's a
actor.
handsome guy.
yeah, very.
And his
very
nickname
congenial.
was the Puerto Rican Prince.
Right. So Jose's fighting. So then his trainer, Teddy Chernoff, he had to stop training him. So he said, "Will you train him?" Okay, so I take Jose.
You took Jose.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were working together. Now Jose was already trained. Jose
Yeah.
had been trained.
For years.
Spacky DeLeo trained him. He had fought
Okay.
for years as an amateur.
Well,
Excellent.
Jose told me he was from McKees Rocks,
Yes, originally.
from
yeah.
where the second Pittsburgh kid came
Yeah.
from.
Yes.
Paul Spadafora.
Yes, they
Another
grew up
legendary
together.
fighter.
Yeah.
Right.
So Jose, I'm
I can
training.
drop names too.
Yeah, I'm training Jose. This kid comes in. I said, "Where's he at? He didn't show." So I don't know. I called him up. He said to me, he says, "Hey, we were at this." He would do extra parts in the movies.
Yeah.
And so we went one Saturday evening. Jimmy Savetic
Yeah.
called us up, and they got extras. They want all the fighters for the Southpaw movie. that
Right.
they
I
were
remember.
making.
Yeah.
So we go up. He don't show up Monday. He was given the call. They collected him, or they took him. He had to join SAG. He had a main part in the movie. He was Eli
Wow.
Frost in the movie. So I'm thinking, well, he's going to be an actor. He's going to be, so he has to have some acting stuff. Get out of the boxing, you know, money talks and, you know,
Yeah.
walks. So
Yeah.
get out of the boxing. I'll learn how to write movie scripts. So I took a course with the filmmakers over in Oakland to how to write movie scripts.
You're kidding. So this was
That
the
was
first
the beginning.
book.
Yeah. That was Strange Angels. All right.
And what? Give them a little tease so they can get this book. Where can they get the books?
You can buy that book on Amazon or iTunes or any of those, any internet places. You can go to any store. You can go to Walmart or Kmart and all these places. They'll have,
They have.
books, but they don't take them. They don't keep them on the shelf
gotta order
because
'em.
there's not room. Yeah, you have to order them. But if you're in China, you can buy it in those little stores and stuff, and they'll order it anywhere in the world.
Well,
It's
stay in
also-
America, buy American, buy an American author.
And
right
it's-
here.
And it's also on the e-books. A lot of people like those Kindles and stuff. You can
Right.
buy it, and it's cheaper.
I
if you
prefer
buy it.
reading books like this,
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
do too.
great. You got let's see, got about 184 pages in this book.
Yeah.
The first one. Just tease them a little bit about what the story is so they can see what you're talking about or hear what you're talking
All
about.
right, Mary Lou Capone inherits a gym. It's a book set in a boxing background, boxing genre, but they're not boxing books.
Right.
They're not Rocky. They're actually character-driven books that.
And
that
what do
deal.
they call, what is your genre?
It's boxing, action, adventure. Now
Boxing, action, adventure.
Now, I would say to this one, Strange Angels, if you were saying what type of a book,
Yeah.
this is a love story
Okay,
minus the candy hearts and flowers.
okay.
Now, Mary Lou's a very independent woman. All the women love Mary
And a
Lou.
beautiful woman, too, right?
Beautiful, a knockout.
Yeah,
She strangely looks like, I'm going to throw another name here,
okay.
Yancey Butler.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Yancey,
Yancey
Butler from years
was,
ago.
was the Witchblade,
Yeah.
and she still does movies and stuff. But anyway, so Mary Lou and her head trainer, his name's Dan McLean, and he is they're on and off again lovers over the years,
Okay.
you know, and that's what the story.
It makes for interesting reading and interesting interaction between the characters. Ernie has quite a descriptive way of writing about scenes, about the gym, about people's thoughts, and I found it very fascinating. It's a nice, easy read. I recommend all of his books, and I wanted to tease you with his first
you.
book.
Thank you.
And
very
each one
much.
has been just as good as the last, if not better, in my
Thank you.
opinion.
Well, what I do have to tell you is, if you like the books, you know, they're continuing. I'm on the fourth book. They're editing it now.
I read it. He let me have a preview. I'm so honored that he
punishing
did.
him. I'm punishing him.
But I like to read. I read about 70 books during COVID and all this, and those were some of his books that he gave me. So
Well, they
thank you.
All the women love Mary Lou.
Well, Ernie, I got to share this with you. We burn up almost all the time. We got a
Uh-oh.
little bit of
Oh,
time
geez.
left.
Okay, go
We
ahead.
got a little bit of time.
see
How
the
would you
clock
like
here.
to close this out on what to do with your books? Or
Buy the books. The first two are scripts, and we're pumping the scripts over to Netflix and stuff. Jose and I, because he's always he's doing the Netflix things all the time.
Sure.
And basically, that's how I got into it, and the books came from the
Woman
scripts.
boxer.
Yes, Jennifer Hopper is a female fighter, and so there's a lot of female fighters now and everything.
Yeah.
And it moves on. So all I can say, if you enjoy now, one of the reviews, the lady who wrote it said, the Bogey and Bacall, meaning Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, this book, she meant Strange Angels, should have been a Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie movie.
And on that happy thought, Ernie,
That's
thank
it.
you for being a great guest.
Thank
We
you.
could talk for another hour at least, folks,
I
but
guess
our
we could.
time is done. Keep watching my shows. We'll see you in 2 weeks.